Somebody asked me to fix this frame. I don't know why, but it looks right in person. I think my house is crooked. That's as good as we're gonna get it. I don't know what to tell y'all. I feel like some people are probably gonna be irritated at me for this video, but I guess it's not the video for them. I happened to come across a video from one of Ruby Franke's sisters, Bonnie, the one that did the video talking about the whole thing, where the whole video she basically just talked about herself. And I don't want to say I was shocked or surprised, but also anytime anybody does something like this, it shocks me. I'm going to give a couple disclaimers before we get into this, because if you just clicked on my video and you've never seen any of my other content, you may not know this about me. So I just want y'all to get to know a little bit about me. I am not a fan of family channels. I think that they are exploitive to children. That's the first thing I want you to know. The second thing I want you to know is I've also done a lot of videos on the Duggar family and the mistreatment of their children and their cult that they are a part of. I believe it is a cult. Not everybody does. I personally believe it's a cult. Anybody who thinks the way that the Duggar family does, I think that they're in a cult. So when I came across one of Ruby Franke's sisters doing a blanket training video, my jaw hit the floor, because we learned about blanket training when I was doing research into the Duggar family in a video I did going on 2 years ago now about the Duggars, and then also in their documentary Duggar Family Secrets that came out a couple months ago. And blanket training is far more disturbing than you may think it is. I think it is so wrong, and don't you worry, I will be telling you all the reasons why I think it's wrong. So if anybody happens to stumble across this video that does blanket training, you're going to disagree with every single thing that I say in this video, but you are free to hate watch if you would like to. We're definitely going to be getting into it. I'm going to be playing this video for you guys because, ooh, it just boiled my blood. My blood was boiling when I watched this video. We're going to watch it together, even though I've already seen it, and I'm probably going to speed it up because I don't know what it is, but I feel like Bonnie speaks so slowly that I gotta speed it up. I don't got time to watch this whole thing. But before I get into it, I wanna tell you guys a little bit about what blanket training is if you don't know. Blanket training is essentially where they take a baby or a toddler, someone whose brain is not developed enough to be able to just sit still. And yeah, they do eventually get their babies to sit still by forcing them repeatedly to not move on these blankets, which to me is abusive. I will say this, I'm almost positive that not everyone who blanket trains does it the same way. There are some that are probably way meaner about it than others, but I still think either one is wrong. So I will say that there's some who probably aren't as extreme about it. So Wikipedia says that blanket training is an allocated amount of time during the day where an infant or toddler is required to remain on a blanket or playmat for a limited period of time with a few select toys. Now, in the Duggar family documentary, it talks about this in an extreme form. I do not know that everybody that blanket trains does this, but this is something that is known to happen with blanket training. The fear begins with blanket training, a method that involves placing a baby on a blanket, as the documentary shows. The Duggar family documentary. The parent then places a favorite object just out of reach. When the baby reaches for the object or tries to crawl towards it, the parent hits them. The Pearl method of blanket training says that you place a baby on a blanket, giving him or her a toy to occupy his or herself. If they move off the blanket, they get slapped with a flexible ruler or a similar tool. This is supposed to be done until the child learns to sit on a blanket in their own space and obey without moving off of it. The purpose of this is to break a baby's rebellious spirit. It's trying to get your child to be obedient. And it's also something that is supposed to help them learn boundaries. So when I came across this video of Bonnie, Ruby Franke's sister, who's currently in jail for abusing her children, okay, keep that in mind. When I came across this video of Bonnie doing this with her sons, who are also sitting in the background, clearly having been trained so heavily to not get off this blanket because they stay on it for most of the video. All right, we're just gonna go ahead and get into it because we don't got all day. I know you guys got things to do today, don't you? Let me know what you're doing down below in the comments. Let's go watch this video together.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing a video that's a little bit different than I usually do. Last week I posted a picture of my kids on blanket time, and wow, I had a really big response to that picture. A lot of people wanted to know what blanket time was, why I did it, how I did it, and I thought it was something very worth mentioning because this alone.
Can I just say this before we even get into this video? These two little boys sitting on these blankets with just a couple toys, like not even on the same blanket, they're on separate ones. Seeing them both just sit there like that, it reminds me of when you go to the zoo and there's like an animal that's put in a cage that's too small for them and they're bored out of their mind and they just want a bigger space to be free to do what they want, or they want to be around other animals that are like them, but they're like stuck in this cage by themselves. That's what this looks like.
Has kept my sanity, and that is no lie. I read the books Baby Wise and I follow them, and
she said that this keeps her sanity and that she learned this from the books Baby Wise. Let's go ahead and look up that book. It says your child learns a lot of self-control as she sits and plays without physical boundaries. The only thing keeping her there is her willingness to listen and obey. Think of your little one sitting on a blanket playing while you finish up dinner. Picture how much easier church would be with blanket time as an available tool. Imagine visiting great-grandma and being able to put the baby down and know she won't zip off and break some family heirloom. Teach your babies and toddlers that they are to sit still and not move. Don't let them explore. Teach them to fear you. It doesn't say that. I added that in there.
In the book, it recommends blanket time. Now, when I first start, I lay a blanket down where I want them. When I give them toys, I choose toys specific for that kid that I know that they're not going to be bored. It's really good for their attention spans because you only give them, just a handful of toys, not a lot.
I will say this, I do think it's good for like toddlers to not have like every single toy that they own out in front of them at a time because they get bored of them really quickly. So I do like the idea of giving your child like a few toys to play with and kind of like rotating them around so that if they get bored of one, then you might have something else stashed away that they don't remember that they're excited to see again.
You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel like it's a waste of your time, but if you stay consistent with it, then it will get better, and it really will. You'll see a difference in the way your kids behave. When you're first teaching them, you can't do anything else. All you're doing is teaching them, and I'll just sit right here by the blanket and I'll watch them play. I won't play with them. I won't show them what to play with. I just watch them. Even if they sit there and scream, that's literally what they do most of the time, is just sit there and scream.
Let's talk about that a little bit. So she's talking about how, like, when you first start this, you're not really able to do anything else. You just kind of have to sit there with them, which having a toddler, like, you definitely have to watch them 24/7. I don't think there's anything wrong with, needing your child to be occupied with something so that you're able to get some stuff done, because yeah, we got to cook dinner. Sometimes it is frustrating if you're trying to do something and you can't hold your toddler and they want you to hold them. That's kind of what it's like having a toddler. It's not always easy. But I find it interesting that she said that most of the time they just sit there and scream. This whole idea of like putting a child down and making them stay there for an hour, which she will later say she does, it just feels like, do you not understand toddlers? Like, one of the number one things they want to do is explore. And do you know why? Because the world is completely new to a toddler. They are just now learning how to walk or like touch things, grab things, explore. They're finally able to get to the things they've seen you doing. Like if you're cooking or something, they're finally able to walk over there or, hold like measuring cups. And they're so excited about this because the world is new and they've just been staring at it their whole lives so far. And now they're finally able to explore it. And that is so good and healthy for them. I don't think it's healthy for you to take a toddler and force them to sit on a blanket where they could leave the blanket. They're being teased by everything, but if they do leave the blanket, they're going to be in trouble for literally no reason other than the fact that you're teaching them that to be scared to get off this blanket. Like the fact that she said that most of the time they just sit there and scream, I'm like, that's neglectful and abusive in my personal opinion. If you disagree with me, I don't really care.
There are many different reasons that you could benefit from blanket time, but I'll tell you the reasons why I started doing it. Olivia was almost 2, so I started it when she was a little bit older, but I could not get her to sit for the life of me. We would go to the doctor's office and she would be all over the place. I would ask her to sit on a chair and she just wouldn't do it. It was as if I wasn't even there.
How many kids does she have? Because I have one toddler and even I know that they don't want to sit. Like, that is so normal. Like, a toddler doesn't want, like, for me, if I see a toddler, like a super young child, like a super young toddler sitting there, not moving, To me, that makes me feel like they've had such fear instilled in them to not move that they're terrified something bad's going to happen to them if they do move. It doesn't look normal to me. It looks like they've been heavily disciplined.
And even there asking her to do it. When we were at church, she would not sit on the bench, and I would pack a whole bag of toys, and she'd go through that entire bag and be done with it in 20 minutes, 15, 10 minutes. It was terrible, and I just thought, I have got to get a grip on this. Are all little kids this way? And the answer,
yeah. They have short attention spans. Their brains aren't fully developed. It's extremely normal. You have to just learn to adapt to it.
yes, but the trick is teaching them how you want them to behave. Kids will learn anything if you just teach them, and if you stay consistent with it. That's the biggest thing with this. In the beginning, with blanket time, you are going to feel like it's a disaster. And it is. It's really hard. And I had a headache every time I start.
Is it really hard and a disaster and you have a headache every time you start because your kids are literally screaming? Maybe that's why you have a headache.
But if you stick with it, you will be able to tell your child to sit on a blanket, play with a few toys, and I leave my kids there for up to an hour. And the reason
An hour of isolated time on a blanket where if you're uncomfortable, you can't get off of it. Where if you're bored with your few toys, you have to keep playing with them. Am I the only one that thinks it just looks weird that these kids are just sitting there like that? They look so bored and like robotic. Like, I'm just here.
reason that I chose an hour is because that's how long sacrament is. That's how long a lot of meetings that we go to are. And so you start with about 10 to 15 minutes. And you work your way up, and it depends on their age as well. I do not like to set a timer because something that this teaches is that blanket time starts when mom says, and blanket time ends.
I love how the kid's like playing with this toy and it makes a noise and she looks behind her like, annoying. Like, why are you making noise with your toys? You're supposed to sit there and be quiet and not move for an hour.
When mom says, if they're being really, really good, I'm not going to take them off the blanket. They can stay and do what they're doing, even if it's past the time that the timer says. Or,
You mean you leave them there for over an hour on a blanket?
if blanket time needs to end a little bit early because they are just not having it that day, because sometimes that's going to be the case, then you can say, okay, mommy says blanket time is over, and you can let your little one run off the blanket, because what you really don't want to do is for the child to say, I'm done doing this, and get off the blanket. That doesn't teach them to be obedient. That doesn't teach.
I love how it's just so like teaching them to be obedient and to be scared of what happens if they get off this blanket, instead of like teaching your children they are able to express themselves and let you know if they have discomfort, or like feel safe to let you know that they don't want to be doing this thing anymore. Some people have kids and it's just like, what did you think you were giving birth to? Babies and toddlers, they need you. Like, they need you a lot. I feel like in order to have your kids trained like this, there is no telling what had to be done to have them trained like that. I'm not going to make assumptions, but I know what I've heard about blanket training.
To listen to what you're saying. So you really got to be strict with it. Another place that this really helps is
you really got to be strict with it. I want somebody to take her and put her on a blanket with a few things and tell her to stay there for over an hour and see how she likes it. No. You can't get off until I tell you to. Look at that kid in the background just leaning up against the wall. He's so bored.
when I'm trying to cook dinner and I just need them out of my hair, but I don't want them running around the house making a huge mess. I need them right there. And plus, I like them seeing what mom's doing. When I'm cleaning and I'm going room to room, I don't put a blanket out, but I'll set them on the couch and I'll say, okay, I'm gonna clean the family room. Put music on.
That little boy in the background is just sitting there. I know there's all different types of parenting styles and stuff like that, but it just makes me feel this like awful feeling. I don't even know how to express what it is that I'm feeling, but just seeing him just like, he's not doing anything. He's just sitting there. He looks bored out of his mind, but he's just not doing anything. Just doesn't look right. I don't know.
Staying on that couch while I clean the family room. I really do feel like this
Oh, and then like forcing them to just sit somewhere, be still, don't move.
teaches strict obedience. It helps with their attention span. Oh, no. Look, you gotta stay on the blanket. Look, you gotta stay on your blanket. So just
Oh, no. You got to stay on your blanket. Don't move.
like that, they are going to crawl off the blanket. They're going to run off the blanket. And at first, all I do, I don't say much because I don't want to really communicate with them when they're on blanket time. And the reason is because
What? I listened to this before, but I think that just went way over. Did she just say she doesn't communicate with them while they're on it? So she basically ignores them and their needs. Like they're not a little human being. She just ignores them. Oh my God. See, I was worried people were going to be mad at me in my video that I did about the sisters' videos that they posted about Ruby Franke. Like, I thought like people were going to be upset at me. Like, I thought I was too harsh. I wish I saw this video first, okay? Because I would have said a lot more about her video, knowing this was her personality. That, I think, is the issue with me watching those videos before. I hadn't seen any of these girls' other videos, any of Ruby Franke's sisters. I didn't know their personalities at all. I'm seeing a little bit of her personality right here, and I'm not liking it. There is so much that I could say. Like, your child, a big part of their development, as I've said, is exploring. Also, communicating. They learn how to speak from communicating with other adults.
Sometimes I just need to read. Sometimes I'm making phone calls. Sometimes I'm doing bills.
Also, does that outlet have a plug back there? I do not want to
entertain them. That's another thing that this does, is teaches them to self-entertain.
It looks like that outlet in the background is just completely out in the open. Like, that kid could like stick his finger or something in there.
Do not want to entertain them. That's another thing that this does, is teaches them to self-entertain. And so when they crawl off the blanket, I just pick them up, put them back on the blanket. I usually start around 18 months. They usually get it pretty well by then. Olivia doesn't necessarily stay on a blanket for quiet time or blanket time anymore because she is older and she doesn't really need to do that. When I started teaching
oh, so the older one doesn't have to do that anymore because she's older, so she doesn't really need to do that. Why do these toddlers need to do that? You know what I did in my house to make things easier on myself? I child-proofed it. I made it safe so that my toddler can walk around in the kitchen while I'm cooking and not hurt himself. He's able to entertain himself, but he's not forced to sit there and not move on a blanket. And there's a Tupperware like thing that I leave undone so that he can get in there and get Tupperware. And sometimes I'll give him measuring cups and spoons, and he'll just sit there and he'll play with that while I'm cooking dinner. And guess what? While he's doing that, I also communicate with him. I speak to him. I talk to him. I talk to him about what I'm doing. She just takes her kids and puts them on a blanket and does whatever disciplining she does whenever they get off of it. Doesn't speak to them. Like, this is like psychological abuse, in my personal opinion. This is weird. This is not okay.
Boston how to stay on a blanket. I put Olivia on one. That way he saw what she was doing. He saw what Cody was doing, and he kind of got the idea. But a lot of time I'll just put her up at the table, have her do her homework, have her color, and just she knows to stay there until I tell her that it's time to get up. Sometimes if I feel like the child needs it, or if I really need them to stay on the blanket just a little bit longer, I will give them treats. I don't want Boston to hear me. He's like, what'd you say? Sometimes I will give them snacks, so that will keep their attention.
I love how she's like laughing and giggling like this is cute. It's not.
But I try to teach them to play without snacks. I have taken the kids to doctor appointments with me, and I will tell them, okay, we're gonna have blanket time, but I put them in the chairs at the doctor's office, and every time, I don't think I've...
Doesn't a doctor's office for kids usually have like stuff for the kids to play with in there? The one that I take my son to, like there's like a fish tank, there's little toys and things like that for toddlers. Like usually those places like have stuff for kids because they know that kids are gonna wanna get up and walk around. Like toddlers and kids don't wanna go into a doctor's office and look at these toys that are around for them and just sit there in a chair. Somebody said that Ruby Franke ran her children like a drill sergeant. So does her sister, apparently.
I've gone to the doctors without a nurse or the doctor saying, wow, I can't believe your kids just sit there. First of all,
wow, I can't believe your kids just sit there, because that's not normal for kids to do.
Threaten them before the doctor gets in there. You will sit here, you will be quiet, and you will not get off of these chairs. And if they do, I wait till we get home, and then when we get home, I really let them know that that was not okay to get off your chair, and we're gonna practice, and we're going to learn to sit still when we go to the doctor's office.
Wow. These kids get punished for getting out of a doctor's office chair. I'm so angry at this woman right now. Like I literally, how did that not just sound like Ruby Franke? How did that not just sound exactly like Ruby Franke? I'm so irritated. They get in trouble for not just sitting still and not moving. That is so messed up. I'd like to see how she acted if somebody like forced her to sit there and not move.
Or when we go to wherever, you know, but I don't make a scene where we're at, but I do let them know I am not happy with you and we are going to talk about this.
I don't make a scene where we're at, but I let them know. Yeah, because you don't want to make yourself look bad. That's another thing. If you don't think there's anything wrong with the way that you're parenting, then why would you change the way that you're parenting in public? You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to make a scene, but you make a scene. Like, what do you do when you get home then that would be considered making a scene? Yell at them, hit them, spank them. Like, what are you doing that would be a scene? Right? Because you said you let them know when they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. But then when you get home is when you do the things that in public would be making a scene. What is that, Bonnie? What is that? What is it that you don't want the public to see that you do to your kids and whenever they don't listen to you?
When we get home, because you're in public, you don't want to embarrass your child. Plus the child's probably not even paying attention because they're looking and doing whatever they're doing. Is he staying on his blanket? Okay. I just had to make sure. This has also been a really good thing for when I just had one child, because now that I have a couple of kids, when I'm in the shower, I can put them in a bedroom and have them play together or put them in front of the TV. And Olivia's old enough that if there's something wrong, she can come and get me.
So she also leaves her kids unattended. Like remember that video where Ruby Franke was talking about how she left her kid, her 3-year-old, on the couch so she could go take a nap? I'm seeing a lot of similarities here. Also, are the outlets in the kids' room unplugged like the one back there?
I couldn't shower. She was into everything, and I couldn't let her run through the house, so she'd be in the bathroom while I was trying to get ready, and it was absolute chaos. So what I would do is I would put the towel mat on the...
I'm so confused about that because I just take those little things that like close the little baby proofing thing so he can't get into the cabinets. I don't understand like why she hasn't baby proofed anything. Baby proofing is why is it like an option for her first to force her children to sit and not move before she considers like baby proofing? Or just get like a normal playpen and put them in the playpen while you're in the shower. Not for over an hour where you had to do like discipline to force them to not get off a blanket even though they could literally just get off of it. Like put temptation in front of them, tempt them to want to move and then get mad at them when they do. Like that's so abusive.
Floor in the bathroom because it was just big enough. Give her like one thing because I'm only going to be in there for 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30. And
I'm only going to be in there 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30. Oh my God, this is a family full of narcissists. This family is full of narcissists.
I'd tell her to stay there. This was after I taught her, and it made my shower time so much better. It was so much better and more like
forcing my children to sit on a blanket and not move and be bored out of their minds made my life so much easier. Me. Don't give a how my children feel, but me though, I feel great. I'm nice and clean from my shower. I don't even want to say like kids aren't animals because I don't even think that you should treat an animal like how some people treat their kids.
I felt like I could do stuff. My mind wasn't complete chaos 24/7 during the day. Something that you're also going to want to keep in mind, if your child is hungry, if your child needs a nap, they're not going to do good at blanket time. You have to kind of plan it in your day. It's right before lunchtime, they're probably not going to do well. So make sure that they're fed, make sure that their diapers are changed or they've gone to the bathroom. That way they don't use the excuse, I need to go to the bathroom, I need to get off the blanket. So
that way they don't use the excuse, I need to go to the bathroom. So you have your bathroom breaks timed? Because I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's just straight up random when I gotta go to the bathroom. Like sometimes it'll sneak up on me and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, oh, at 5:30 every single day I go use the bathroom. No, like it's kind of random.
Make sure that it's good timing for them as well. Normally I don't have their blankets so close, but I just wanted them in the frame. But usually I try.
Normally I don't have the blanket so close. I just wanted them in the frame. So she like separates them.
Keep them separate. That way they don't fight with each other. They don't want each other's toys. They're not trying to play with each other. It just keeps them separate.
Oh my God, it would be so terrible if the two siblings tried to play together. That would be awful if they did that. I'm so glad she keeps them separate so they can't play with their siblings.
And it just is better, at least for me, that way. So that is what...
There you go. There you have it. It's better, at least for me. These people are so narcissistic and selfish. I literally cannot.
That's what, why, and how I do it. If you have any questions, you can definitely leave a comment below and I'll get back to you. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you start doing blanket time and you like it, make sure to tag me in pictures.
There are 4.7 thousand people that clicked like on this video. Are there really that many people that are doing this?
You can do it on Instagram or Twitter. I've had a few people do it already, and I think it is really fun. I think it's really great. To each their.
I think it's really fun and really great that I'm inspiring other moms to force their children to sit on a blanket and not move for over an hour. Anybody else seeing the similarities here? I don't know about this one, y'all. You're gonna have to let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you disagree with anything I said? Like, they're little human beings. Like, they're not robots. Like, they're not here just to please you and to make sure you're comfortable. Sometimes it's not fun. Sometimes it's stressful. Sometimes you can't do all the things that you want to do. That's what being a parent is. It's not sunshine and rainbows all the time. Things I've heard that people have done to keep their children on these blankets. For the purpose of this video, I'm not accusing her of any of those things. But when you start hearing the disciplinary methods that these books teach when it comes down to blanket training, it's extremely disturbing. I'm not saying she did that. I find it interesting that when someone does a video like this, they'll tell you why they put them on the blankets and how it benefits them, but they never tell you what they do to get them to stay on it. Just a little bit of food for thought for you guys. You're gonna have to leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think. If you would like to see more videos like this, please make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any of my uploads. And I will be seeing you guys soon for another video.